You said it at the door last week. Quiet, the way you saved the worst for last, one hand on the latch, coat half on. I could learn where the electron sits or how it's moving, but never the two together. I've carried that up the road and back down it all week, turning it over till the words went smooth in my pocket. And somewhere around Thursday I decided, I don't believe you. Not yet. So I've come up early to make you earn it, line by line.
You've arrived in the very mood I was hoping for, because a thing you swallow whole is a thing you never really own, and I'd rather send you home with something you've chewed. Sit down, take the coat off. This one's a long fire. And before I earn a single word of it, say back to me what you think you're defending, so I know which wall to lean my shoulder on.
The last dream of the old clockwork. That's what my shoulder's set against. Newton's world, wound up, and running smooth. Every speck of matter parked at some definite place, moving at some definite speed, carrying both those facts about with it whether or not there's a soul in the room to check. That's the picture 2 centuries were built on, and I've grown fond of it.
That much I'll grant you for nothing. It's the crown jewel, and it earned its shine. But there was a promise stitched to the lining of it, and the promise is the part I mean to cut away. Say the promise out loud, because that's where tonight goes to work.
That I could read both numbers straight off the thing, that was the whole of it. That if I only built a fine enough instrument and laid a light enough touch on it, I'd have the where and the how fast both, to as many decimal places as I had the patience to chase. Sharp place, sharp speed. Mine for the measuring. Tell me that's dead and I'll want to see the body.
You'll leave here tonight with the coroner's note pinned to its toe as well. But hold the dream in 2 halves in your hands a moment, because all of tonight lives in the gap. Between them. Half 1. The electron truly has a definite place and a definite speed, both of them sitting inside it, waiting to be found. Half 2. A clever enough measurement could reach in and fish the pair of them out.
And I'd have sworn those 2 halves stood or fell as one thing. You don't get to a sharp reading unless there's a sharp fact under it. So which half are you coming for, the reading or the fact?
Most people who give up the dream surrender the second half. The measuring's too clumsy, they say, too heavy-handed, and off they go home half-comforted. I am not most people. I mean to take the first half clean off you. There was never a pinpoint pair sitting there in the dark to fish for. The fact itself is what's missing.
Now that's a far bolder theft than I came braced for, so stay your hand 1 second. Before you take anything off me, let me lay out on the table what I actually walked home with last week. Spread it all out where we can both see it, so you can't quietly shift the furniture around while my back is turned.
Not a stick of it moves while you talk. You have my word, hands flat on my knees. Spread the whole inventory out, and I'll wait.
The electron is a wave, a spread of your little clocks, Feynman's little clocks, one standing at every point, each with a length, and an hour it happens to be pointing at. And onto that wave you hung 2 readings. Where it sits, that's wherever the arrow lengths pile up tall, where the odds heap thickest. And how it's moving, that's tucked somewhere into how the little hands wind as I walk my eye across the wave. Have I carried it out of your house straight?
Carried it like a full cup, not a drop lost. The one thing I'll tighten is that second reading. It's the hinge everything swings on. Walk your eye along the wave and watch the hour turn from one point to the next one over. If the hand barely creeps round as you step across, a long, loping wavelength, ages between full turns, then you are looking at a slow electron.
And if it whirls instead? If the hand spins through a fresh full turn every tiny step I take sideways across the wave?
Then it's a short, tight wavelength and a fast electron. That's the piece to nail down. The winding as you cross the wave isn't a decoration hung on the motion, a label stuck on afterward. It is the motion, all of it. Read the wind, and you have read the speed. There's nowhere else the speed is kept.
No separate little tag pinned to the wave then. The speed lives in the tightness of the winding, and nowhere else at all, and I'll hold that firm. But now you can surely see just where I'm about to plant both feet. If the where lives in the pile-up, and the how fast lives in the winding, then those are two different features of one and the same wave. Two dials on one machine.
There's a trap folded into that already. On the face of it, nothing forbids a wave from running both crisp at once. Ask me the question you've been circling since the door.
Why on earth can't the machine run both dials at their best at once? A tall, tight pile-up sitting right here, so I know where, and a lovely crisp winding threading clean through it, so I know how fast. Draw me the wave that flatly refuses to do both, because I can't see what's stopping it.
That refusal is the engine underneath it all, and I will build it with you, brick by brick, until you can turn it in your own two hands and hear it click. But not this minute. First, I have to kill something, and kill it thoroughly, or it'll crouch at the back of your skull all night, muttering the wrong answer over the top of every right one I give you.
Kill what? I don't recall smuggling anything into the room.
You brought it in without noticing. Everyone does. You brought the usual story of why you can't have both. Say it to me, all of it. The tale about bouncing light off the electron to have a look at it.
Oh, that one. That's the version that always made the business feel almost reasonable to me, almost tame. To find where the electron is, I have to look at it, and to look I have to bounce something off it. A scrap of light, say, the way I see anything at all. But the electron is a feather of a thing, barely there, and the light comes barging in like a flung brick, and the act of pinging it to fix its place knocks it clean off whatever speed it had. And the moral of it, the tidy line I always loved, is that the measuring itself does the damage, that the whole blur is only a clumsiness I could imagine outbuilding one day with a finer machine.
The warmth is the whole danger of it. It is the single most stubborn wrong idea in all of this subject, and I need you to stand and watch me take it apart with my bare hands, because a great heap of the nonsense talked about quantum mechanics out there in the world is built straight on top of this one comfortable mistake.
Then, before you knock it flat, is any part of it even true? Because from where I sit, it sounds airtight, hinge and bolt.
One bolt of it holds, and I won't pretend otherwise. Bounce hard light off an electron, and you genuinely do kick it. You genuinely do spoil that particular reading of its motion. The disturbance is a real, honest effect that really happens. I am not going to wave it away to win the argument. Hold that. The kick is real.
Then I don't yet see where your quarrel is. If the disturbance is real, then surely the disturbance is the reason. The case closes itself, and half of my dream limps on out the door still breathing.
That is the trap, laid and baited and waiting. Walk one step further into it, because I want you to feel the jaws come down rather than take my word they're there.
Then I'll fight you properly. If the trouble is that my light lands too hard, I reach for softer light, gentler, a longer, lazier ripple that barely leans on the electron as it drifts past. I tiptoe the measurement in on stocking feet, kick it less, spoil the speed less, and I keep shopping down and down for a lighter touch, creeping up on both numbers. Together. Now, where is the flaw in that plan?
You're busy answering a question I quietly stopped asking. Chase your gentle probe as far as your legs will carry you, and there's a real tangle waiting down that road, mind, because a longer, gentler ripple is a blunter ruler, and a blunter ruler pins the place worse, so you buy back in fresh blur every scrap you saved on the kick.
Robbing one pocket to fill the other then, every scrap I save on the kick I pay straight back, in blur on the place. Still, that sounds like a fight I might yet win on points if I'm cunning enough about the ruler.
It is the wrong fight on the wrong ground, and I refuse to have it with you, because winning it would still leave the real thing standing. So put the light down. Put every last instrument down on the bench. Send nothing at the electron at all. Not a brick, not a ripple, not a candle. Nothing.
So I buy the softest light in the whole shop, and then the finest lens ever ground, and a finer one behind that, and I'm halfway to remortgaging the house. And you fold your arms and tell me to leave the entire toolbox in the drawer and measure precisely nothing at all. That is a most peculiar physics lesson, I'll have you know. Fine, have it your way. The electron's out there in the dark, unbothered, unwatched, not a candle lit for a mile in any direction. Now, what am I even looking at?
At the wave, and nothing but the wave, alone in the dark, nobody's light laid upon it. And here is all of my case, so take it as slowly as you like. Whatever spread of place that wave has, and whatever spread of speed it has, are sitting inside it already, this very instant, unwatched, unmeasured, no brick in flight, no soft ripple stealing up, nothing whatsoever on its way toward it.
Then here's what won't fit. A blur already sitting there in the dark cannot have been put there by a light I never got round to shining. It's a plain standing fact about the wave, lit or unlit.
There is the snap of the jaws. You cannot cause a thing at 4 o'clock by doing something at 5. The blur was standing in the wave before your probe was so much as built. The probe arrives too late to be its parent. Whatever made the blur, it was not the looking.
Ah, now that is a different animal entirely, and I feel the floor tilt under my chair. You're not telling me my measurement is too clumsy to catch the sharp pair. You're telling me the sharp pair is not there to be caught in the first place. The blur wasn't smeared onto the thing at the last second by a heavy instrument. It's in the electron before I ever walk into the room. The blur is in the thing, not in the lens.
Hold those 5 last words close, because the rest of it hangs from them. But let me be fair to your warm story before we bury it, because it isn't a pure and simple lie. Is there any sense left in which looking does do a real thing to the electron? Don't let me overshoot.
You tell me. I'd have said you just took looking clean out of the reckoning altogether.
Not clean out, no. Looking does do a real thing. It catches the electron, forces a spread of maybes to cough up one actual answer. That's a genuine effect, and it has its own strange night waiting further down the road. But it is not the origin of the blur. The blur was here first, standing in the dark, uncaused by any glance. 2 separate creatures, and your comfortable story quietly fused them into one animal.
2 different animals, and I'd been carrying them as one. There's the kick you get when you finally do look. Real enough, but a footnote at the end. And there's the blur that's already sitting in the wave, with every light in the house switched off. And that one's the headline across the top of the page.
Keep those 2 in separate pockets, and you will never be fooled on this subject again, as long as you live. Tonight is the headline, start to finish, nothing to do with the footnote. So now the real question, the one worth the whole evening. Why aren't they there? What is it about being a wave that forbids a thing from holding a pinpoint place and a pinpoint speed at the same instant?
I want to answer that one myself, and I can't quite reach it, so let me at least back it into a corner. The wave I'm after is dead easy to picture. A tight little lump, sitting here and nowhere else, and running clean through the lump, one steady winding at a single rate, so it carries the one crisp speed. That's the wave you swear cannot be, and it looks like the most ordinary object in the world to me. So what breaks, exactly, the moment I try to draw it?
Let's find out by drawing the 2 far ends first, the pure cases, the extremes, and then squeezing them in toward each other until one of them screams. Begin with the cleanest motion there is. One lone wavelength, one winding rate, held the same all the way along. The hand turns at a single steady pace as you step across. Creep, creep, creep. A fresh, full turn every so often, on and on forever, never hurrying, never once slowing.
A perfectly definite speed falls straight out of that. One wavelength, one rate, no argument anywhere in it. My motion handed to me whole on a plate. Good so far.
Now the question that undoes people, where is that electron?
Well, it's the wave with the one immaculate speed, so it ought to be the tidy, obedient one. I'd expect it sitting somewhere plain, somewhere I can lay a finger on. A pile-up right here, so the thing is here. Let me run my eye along it and hunt for where the arrows heap up tallest.
You'll come back to me empty-handed. There is no pile-up anywhere along it to find. A single, steady, winding hands every last point on the wave, a clock hand of the same reach. Not one of them taller than its neighbours.
Hold on, though. Every last point cut to one length. Why can't it run tall here and short over there, the way any honest wave rises and falls?
Because one lone winding rate only ever turns the hour. It never lays a finger on the length. It cannot, for anything that made one spot taller than another, would itself be extra waves added into the mix, and then it would no longer be one pure rate at all. Picture a corkscrew of arrows, every one cut to the identical size, the hour marching gently round and round as you step along the line. Same length at every spot, only the hour differs from one to the next.
And last week you drilled it into my skull until it's set. You square the length for the odds and the hour gets set aside, unread, thrown away. So if the length is the identical size at every point, then the odds come out the identical size at every point too, which means
nowhere. The electron is nowhere in particular whatsoever, smeared flat across all of space, every spot as likely as the one beside it. A calm level sea stretching from one horizon clean to the other. No wave, no marker, no home.
that stood clean on its head, that has, from everything my gut swore blind was true. The wave with the one perfect speed, the tidiest, most definite motion I could ask nature for, is the very one that's flung its whole location to the four winds. A crisp speed, and no address at all. Everywhere at once, evenly, a ripple with nowhere to call home.
Hold that image dear, because it's already half of your answer. One perfect speed costs you your entire location. Now, before you cross to the other end, I can see you winding up to cheat me. Go on, try it.
Watch me try it then. Take that pure endless wave and just snip a length clean out of it. Cut it with scissors down to a single stretch, so it keeps the one clean wavelength and now it lives in one bounded piece, here and not beyond the two cuts. Haven't I got both at once now? The tidy speed and an address side by side?
Watch what the blades actually do, though. That's the whole of it. The instant you snip it, the instant you hand it an edge, a beginning and an ending, it stops being one pure wavelength. It cannot be one. A wave that starts and stops is no longer a single endless ripple at all. It is a band of wavelengths secretly added together, arranged so they cancel dead everywhere past your two cut ends.
Which turns the whole trick inside out. The scissors never trimmed a thing. The scissors were the adding. Cutting it to a length is the very act of piling other wavelengths in, without my noticing, to build those two sharp edges. I can't snip my way to a located pure wave, because the moment it's located, it was never pure.
And those two cut edges are built out of the very speeds you were trying to scissor away, so the trick can't win. Now cross to the other end for real and build the thing you actually came here wanting.
The lump. A thing with a genuine address, sitting here near enough nothing everywhere else. So how do I build that honestly out of waves? I've got this flat, homeless, one-speed ripple lying in front of me. What do I add to it to make it heap itself up in one spot?
I'll hand you back last week's own tool to do the building. The tip to tail adding, the arrows laid nose to tail. Because there is exactly one honest way in this whole subject to build a lump out of waves, and you already own it outright. You bled a fortnight for it at the slits.
That's a bold thing to leave standing, one way and no other. Hand it over then. What's the one thing I lay on top of my flat wave to make it heap up in a single place and clear off everywhere else?
Another wave. A second pure ripple, but wound at a slightly different rate, a slightly different wavelength, which, by tonight's own rule, means a slightly different speed. Lay that second one over the first and add the pair the only honest way there is, tip to tail, at every point along the line.
And what falls out of the adding when I do it?
At one chosen spot, set it up so the two hands arrive pointing the same hour. They agree, they stack. The arrow home runs out long. A pile-up, the start of an address. But step your eye away from that spot, and because the two are winding at different rates, they slide steadily out of step. One gains on the other, and before long, they're aimed at opposite hours. They fight. The arrow home shrivels to a stub.
Already, with just the two waves, there's more amplitude in the middle than out at the edges. The first faint hint of a bulge. But a soft, sorry sort of bulge, isn't it? Two rates drifting in and out of step would give me a swelling here, then another further along where they fall back into agreement, and another past that again. A whole washboard row of low humps, not one lone island.
Two rates won't do it, no. To murder off all the other humps and leave one island standing proud and alone, you keep adding waves. A third rate, a fourth, a broad band of them, each a slightly different wavelength from the last.
And I tune them how? There's surely a trick to which ones I'm allowed to pick, or the whole thing's a shambles.
You tune them so every last hand agrees at your one chosen spot. All of them, every rate, pointing the same hour right there together. At that one spot, they all stack as one, and the pile-up towers up, tall and tight.
And nothing lets that crowd agree twice over. No, I can see it now. The more rates I've thrown in, the more hours they point at everywhere but my chosen spot. This one at noon, that one at 4 o'clock, another off at 9, a whole mob aimed at different hours, murdering itself down to nothing. So there's no second place left where they can gather. The wider the band, the more completely everything outside my one spot knifes itself to silence, and the tighter and lonelier the surviving lump stands. It's the same great cancelling from the slits, only now a shouting mob of winding rates does the work, not two roads through two doors. I've got my address at last. So where's the sting you keep half smiling over?
The sting waits its turn. First, the list of ingredients. What did you have to pour into the pot to get that address? Only what went in, nothing more.
A whole broad band of different wavelengths, as many as it took, tuned to agree at the one spot, and quarrel everywhere else. That's the recipe, and the tighter I wanted the lump, the wider the band I had to… Oh, hold on a second. A wavelength is a speed. You said it right at the start, hand flat on the table. The winding rate is the motion. So a band of different wavelengths is…
A band of different speeds. Say it the entire way through. Now you've found it.
There it is then, the whole way through. My nicely located little electron, sitting pretty, at its tight address, is not running at one crisp speed at all. It cannot be. I built its very location, its whole address, out of a heap of different wavelengths, and every last one of those is a different speed, all of them folded together into the one lump.
And what did the tightening cost you exactly? Chase it the last inch home.
The tighter I squeezed the address, the wider the band of speeds I was forced to throw in to build it. So the harder I pin down where the thing is, the more different speeds get stirred into it. The place came sharp, and the speed went straight to fog. And I did the entire thing to myself, with my own 2 hands, adding waves in a quiet room, before a single candle was ever lit.
There it is. And Mark, who was not in the room while you did it. No microscope, no light, hard or soft, no flung brick, no tiptoeing ripple, no clumsy instrument, no watcher anywhere on the premises. Only you, adding waves, because adding waves is the one and only way a lump can be made to exist at all. The spread of speeds didn't come running the moment somebody looked. It's the standing price of the lump being a lump.
And is that a fair bargain or a cruel one? Squeeze the address down to half its width. What's the bill on the speed then? Does it just grow a touch, or do I pay through the nose?
Strict proportion, and no haggling the clerk down. Halve the width of the place, and the spread of speeds must at least double to hold the product up. Squeeze the place down to 1/10, and the speeds fan out tenfold. It's a seesaw with that one grain for its pivot. Shove either end down, and the far end rides up by just as much. There is no seat on it, where both ends rest low together.
Then let me get this electron's character down plainly, because it is shaping up to be quite impossible to live with under one roof. I ask it where it is, and if it deigns to give me a tight answer at all, it point-blank refuses to tell me how fast it's going. A whole pile of speeds. Take your pick, sir. So I ask it how fast instead and pin that down to a hair, and now it won't breathe a word about where it's got to, smeared clean across the room. Press it on the one, it goes to fog on the other. Every single time, without fail. It is the worst witness in the universe. It will not answer 2 straight questions in a single breath.
No confession to sweat out of it either. It hasn't got the pair of facts to confess to. Now let me draw the 2 ends of tonight together, the 2 you sketched yourself. One lone wavelength means one speed and no address anywhere. One tight address means a heaped-up pile of wavelengths, and a pile of wavelengths is a smear of speeds.
Push either one toward perfect sharpness then, and the other flies apart in my fingers. There's the wave that refuses, my own refusal drawn at last, and the maddening thing is I built it myself, out of parts you handed me last week.
You built it yourself, which is the only way it ever truly sticks to the ribs.
And, oh, this is the same thing as sound, isn't it? It has to be. A single pure note, one steady-held pitch, has to ring on and on and on to be that pure. Hold it 100 years and it's purer still, and you cannot say where in time it is, because it is everywhere in time at once, start to finish.
Keep going. You've the pure note. Now reach for its opposite.
But a quick little click, over and gone in the blink of an eye, isn't any one pitch at all. It's a clatter of pitches heaped together in an instant. Long and pure set against short and mixed. That's my electron, standing there in a coat I already owned and never thought to try on it.
The identical mathematics, only wearing the sound's coat. A pure tone is spread across all of time and holds one perfect pitch. A sharp click owns one single instant and no one pitch at all. Trade pitch for speed, and when for where, and you have the electron entire, nothing left over.
Place and motion, then, are 2 views of one wave that can't both be sharpened at once, for the same reason a sound can't be one pure pitch and one knife-thin instant together. So give the thing its proper name, because I can feel it hardening into a rule I'll be quoting for the rest of my natural life, and I'd like to be introduced to it politely rather than bump into it in the dark.
This is Heisenberg's principle, and here is its rule in the plainest speech I can give it. Take the blur in where the electron sits, and take the blur in how it's moving, and multiply the two together into one number.
All right, and then what? Where in that does the rule reach out and bite?
That product can never drop, beneath a certain tiny amount. Not ever, not once, not by anyone. You may trade the one blur against the other all you please. Shrink the place blur down to a whisker if you'll pay for it by letting the speed blur go wide and wild. But their product comes down onto a floor and stops there, dead.
A hard line drawn under it then, not a soft endless give and take. Let me be sure I've got the shape. I can shove either blur as small as I like on its own, all the way to nothing if I want, but the two of them multiplied together can never slip below the floor. So I can never have both small at the same instant.
The floor forbids it. Flat. That's the whole law. Every other thing tonight is only this one sentence wearing a different hat.
Then everything now hangs on just how low that floor is set, because if it sits low enough, my clockwork dream stumbles on out the door. In all but name, the two blurs would simply be far too small to ever catch either of them being blurry. So tell me the height of the floor. What sets it?
The number that sets it is one you already carry. The grain. The very one from the first night by the fire. That fantastically tiny unit nature keeps in her own pocket and shares with nobody. The grain Planck himself was dragged to, kicking against his will.
The same speck out of the fire, the one Planck couldn't stomach?
That very one. And here's what should raise the hair on your neck. The same speck fixes how fast every one of last week's little clocks winds along its road. One speck of a thing, working 3 jobs at once. It cracked the fire open that first night, it winds the clocks, and now it lays down this floor. The two blurs multiplied cannot go beneath that grain, and that grain is fantastically small.
That's why the dream limps on so beautifully up in our big world. The grain is so absurdly, ludicrously tiny that for a thrown ball the floor sits a mile down. I could pin the ball's place to a whisker and its speed to a whisker both at once and never once feel the two of them so much as brush against each other.
That's the mercy of it precisely. The ball keeps its place and its speed to more decimal places than you could measure in a lifetime, and the old clockwork looks flawless. From up there, because the fight is going on a mile beneath anything a cannonball could ever show you. Shrink down to the electron, though, and the floor is suddenly up around your ears.
But I want the actual teeth of this thing, not some soft, dentured version I can nod along to. This floor, it is not a remark about how good our instruments have got, is it? It's not the best microscope money can buy, still can't quite manage the both of them. I need to be dead certain which of those two I'm holding.
Older and meaner than any microscope that was ever ground, or that ever will be. Build the finest measuring engine the laws of physics so much as permit. Flawless, no clumsiness anywhere in it, a perfect, unblinking eye, and the floor stands exactly where it always stood, not a hair's breadth lower. Because it was never a statement about the measuring at all.
Then it isn't a fact about our tools at all, however fine we grind them, it's a fact about the thing itself.
It's a statement about what a particle is even allowed to be. A thing with a pinpoint place and a pinpoint speed at one shared instant. Isn't a hard thing to detect. It's a thing that cannot exist, the same way a pure tone that lasts no time at all cannot exist. Not forbidden by our clumsy tools, forbidden by what it would mean to be a wave in the first place.
Let me poke it just once more, though, because my old clockwork instinct dies very hard, and I don't want it rising from the grave on me next week. Couldn't it still be that the electron really does have some exact place and some exact speed tucked away inside it, and the wave is only my ignorance of them? A fog on my side of the glass over facts that are perfectly sharp underneath if I could just see clearly.
That is the last ghost of your dream, and it's the ghost the two-slit night was built to lay to rest. If the electron secretly had a definite place all along, then it went through one definite slit, one or the other, and the moment that's true, the stripes on the far wall can never form. But the stripes do form. They form precisely because there was no fact of the matter about which slit, no sharp place hiding under any fog.
No curtain then, and nothing sharp waiting behind it.
There is no sharp value being withheld from you because there is no sharp value there to withhold. The fog isn't on your side of the glass. The fog is the thing itself. That is the meanest, hardest part of it all, and the part the disturbance story exists to help people avoid swallowing.
Then there's the body, and there at last is the cause of death written plain on the certificate. The old clockwork asked for a world of specks, each one carrying its own exact place and its own exact speed, sitting patiently in the dark, waiting to be read off by anyone who bothered. And the true answer isn't, they're all there, only bashful. It's that no such speck was ever on the cards, not anywhere, not once, not ever.
Being built of waves, the world simply is not permitted to hold the both of them at once. Not in the electron, not in you, not in a thrown stone. It merely hides the affair up where the ball flies, tucked away behind that one ludicrously tiny grain, and lets you go on believing the old smooth story.
I came up the road tonight to save the dream, and I've gone and helped you dig its grave. Marvellous. But you keep glancing off sideways at the fire, so I'll ask straight, is that the end of the damage this floor does? Or does it climb down off the page and start doing things out where I can actually see them?
Off the page and into the room. Both. It reaches out and forces nature's hand, shoves the visible world into shapes it would never otherwise take. Two of those shapes, and the second is a debt you've owed me since the first night we sat by that fire, though you don't yet know it.
Twice now you've dangled that in front of me and plainly expect me not to lunge across the table for it. I'll be patient. The gentler shape first, then what does the floor go and force out into the open?
Take a particle and shut it up in a box. Now make the box smaller, smaller again. As you close the walls in on it, you are pinning its place tighter and tighter. The place blur is shrinking, plain and simple, because the thing hasn't the room left to be anywhere but inside the shrinking box.
And the floor won't stand quietly by and watch that shrinking happen for free.
No, it bills every scrap of that shrinking straight to the speed. As the place blur shrinks, the speed blur has to swell to keep their product up above the line. The tighter you cage the thing, the wilder the spread of speeds it's driven to carry. Now squeeze the box down and down toward nothing at all, and ask yourself the plain question. Can this thing ever be sitting perfectly still?
It can't. It genuinely, honestly can't. Because perfectly still would mean zero speed, one exact value, no spread whatsoever, and you've this second forbidden a no spread speed for anything I've boxed in. So the poor caged thing is stuck jiggling forever. And here's the part that truly undoes me. I can't even freeze it out of the thing. Take every last scrap of heat away, chill it down to absolute zero, the coldest it is possible for anything, anywhere to be. All the rest of creation stopped stone dead around it. And this one caged thing is still trembling away in there. It cannot be told to sit down.
That leftover tremble even carries a name that says just what it is: the 0-point motion. The motion still standing after every last scrap of the ordinary heat-driven jiggling has been drained clean away. Cold takes out everything that can possibly be taken out, and this is the one thing left that cold can never reach.
A shiver right at the bottom of the world then, that no winter anywhere ever touches. Not even absolute zero can still it.
To the root, and for good. A confined thing is a restless thing, always by law and never by luck. Pin a thing down to a place, and in the same motion you've handed it a shiver it keeps clutched to itself right to the end of time.
Nothing that's ever been located can ever fully come to rest. I'll be turning that one over a long while. But I can't hold off that debt a second longer. Collect it. You said the second thing is a bill I've owed since we first sat by the fire, and I've run back over that first night a dozen times and still can't place it. What did I walk out owing?
The third crack. That very first night, 3 humble little things broke the old smooth world clean open, and the third of them was the atom itself, a speck of a nucleus, an electron out around it. And by every rule we owned back then, that electron ought to have spiraled straight in, wound down like a coin dropped into a funnel, faster and tighter the closer it fell, and smashed into the dead center in the breath of an instant.
I remember the horror of it coming back to me now. Every atom in my own body should have collapsed to a pinprick before I was so much as born, and they plainly don't. Here I sit, atoms and all. We stood there that first night with no earthly idea why the atom holds itself open, and you told me to leave the question standing in the field.
Tonight you walk back out and knock it flat. Where do you think the answer's coming from? Say it out loud before I say a word.
It's this floor, isn't it? The same floor come round again. Something to do with crushing the electron down into the nucleus and what it costs. Walk me in slowly, though. I truly want to arrive at this one on my own 2 feet and not be carried the last stretch over the line.
Walk, then, and I'll not carry you. Suppose the electron does the thing the old picture begged of it, falls all the way in and sits pinned right at the nucleus, at a pinprick of a place. A tiny, tiny place blur, near enough none at all. Now put tonight's floor to it. With the place pinned down that hard, what does the floor turn round and demand of the speed?
The speed blur has to explode. No choice. If I've crushed the place blur down to almost nothing, jammed the electron into a pinprick right at the center, then the spread of speeds has to fly up enormous to keep their product up above the line. There's no other coin left in my pocket to pay the floor with. So the tighter I pin it to the nucleus, the more violently it is forced to be moving.
A pinned-down electron, then, is no calm little thing resting quietly at the middle of it all. So what is it? Out with it.
It'd be a thing raging with speed. The harder you jam it inward, the more furiously it's driven to move. Pinning it isn't peace at all. Pinning it is a storm you're winding up with your own hands.
A great heap of energy, that raging spread of speed. For a wide spread of speeds means the thing is typically flying along fast, whichever way you catch it, and moving has always been energy, from your very first mechanics night onward. So being crushed into the nucleus is not free. It costs the electron a fortune, and the deeper you try to jam it, the more ruinous the bill runs on it.
But falling inward ought to be the thing it wants, oughtn't it? The nucleus pulls the electron, and dropping in toward the pull pays energy back. So there are 2 columns fighting each other in the ledger.
Picture 2 clerks, then, working opposite columns and glaring at one another. Fall in. The pulling energy drops, which the electron dearly likes. But the confinement bill, the wild speed the floor forces upon it, blows up ruinous, which it flatly cannot afford. So it can't win the argument by falling all the way in, and it can't win it by fleeing off to freedom either.
Which means somewhere between all the way down at the center and flung off to the far hills, There has to be one distance where the two columns come level, where the total bill sits as low as the electron can ever get it. Not the dead center, not off at infinity, but some one particular in-between distance.
That distance and no other. Now name what you've just built with your own reasoning. Say out loud what that in-between distance actually is.
It's the size of the atom. That balance distance, that's how big the atom is. The electron can't crash down into the nucleus because pinning it there would cost a fortune in speed energy it simply hasn't got. And it can't fly off free because the pull holds it fast. So it hangs at the one distance where those two settle their argument. And that standoff distance is the width of the atom itself. The atom has a size at all because the electron is forbidden a sharp place. Every atom in my body is being propped open this second by the exact same flaw that won't let me pin down where the electron is.
That strut is holding the material world open at its width this very instant. In you, in the chair you're gripping, in everything your hand can reach. Every atom a standing truce, propped wide by an electron that will not be pinned.
And here's what I have to know now. Does every atom pick its own size, off its own bat? Or do they all somehow land on the same one? Because if it's a free-for-all, matter ought to be a shambles of odd, mismatched atoms, no two alike.
They land just where they're told to land. The balance is fixed by three settled things and nothing besides. The strength of the nucleus's pull, the heft of the electron itself, and that one grain. And not one of the three is open to the slightest negotiation. Make the electron heavier and the atom would draw in smaller. But its heft is fixed, the pull is fixed, the grain is fixed. So the simplest atom, one electron round one speck of a nucleus, comes out the identical width here, and in a star halfway across the sky and 1,000 years from this evening. Not an accident of how any one of them happened to get made. Dictated down to the last stretch.
This uncertainty, then, it isn't some far-off fog in a lonely corner of physics I can file away and forget. It's the plain thing holding all of matter apart from itself.
Take the floor away. Let the grain drop to nothing, and matter folds up into a dust of pinpricks, and the universe goes dark and dense and dead in the space of a single blink. The reason there is any room at all inside things, the reason you're the size you are and not a stain spread thin on the floorboards, is that a wave will flatly not be pinned.
I could sit and stare into that all night. Every atom a standing standoff. All of solid matter propped open by a plain refusal to be located. Before you reach for the door, though, one last thing that's been buzzing at the back of me. Is this the only such trade in all of nature? Place set against speed. Is that the entire of it, or does that flaw turn up between other pairs of things as well?
There's at least one cousin, and I will name it and go no single step further. Because it's another night's fire all on its own. Time and energy strike the same kind of bargain. You can borrow a lump of energy provided you pay it back fast enough. And the shorter the flicker you borrow it over, the more you're allowed to take. That's the family resemblance, plain in the face. But tonight's flaw is the one between place and speed, and I'd far rather leave you holding that one crisp and alone, than juggling it with all its relations.
One clean thing carried out the door. I'll take that deal, same as I always do. It's the deal you always cut me. But you've done a sly thing this evening long, and I've only this moment caught you red-handed at it. All night we've been handling this wave, where it heaps up, how its little clocks wind, how hard you're allowed to squeeze it before the speeds fly apart on you. We've turned it over and over in the firelight. And not one single time in all of that have you told me what moves it.
That's the one door I left shut on purpose. I did wonder if you'd notice.
I mean it, what makes the wave the shape it is this instant, and some other shape entirely the next? What steers the thing along from one moment to the one after?
Everything we've done tonight was a portrait of the wave standing dead still, a single photograph of it. Where it heaps, how it wins, the flaw on how hard a hand you can squeeze it with. But a photograph doesn't move, and the electron's wave most certainly does. It rolls, it shifts. It's one shape now and a different shape a moment on. There's a law that steers it, a single equation that takes the wave just as it stands this instant and tells it, down to the last hair, what to be an instant later.
And that's another one of those covered cars in my garage, isn't it? One I named to your face myself last week, and swore blind I'd not so much as tug the sheet off till you said the word.
Left just where you parked it, under its sheet. The rule for how the wave rolls forward through time. That's the corner I lift next week, and no sooner, not a thread of it tonight.
Next week it is then. You haul the sheet off, and I learn at last what it is that tells the wave how to move.
And it is a whole law, that one, sitting quietly under every rolling wave in all of the world. But its fire is next week's. This one here isn't burned out yet. You know the ritual by now, the two of us. The last word at the door is always yours. So take the floor, say the night back to me, in a single breath, and I'll be listening close for the one clock among them all that's pointing to the wrong hour.
Then here it is, all of it in one breath. I came up the road tonight to defend the last dream of the clockwork, that a fine enough instrument and a gentle enough touch would read me off both numbers, the where and the how fast, from any speck in the world. And you killed it, not by beating my instruments but by taking them off me altogether and showing me the blur was never smeared on by the looking at all. It's in the thing, sitting there in the dark, but ever a candle's lit. Because a wave with one unbroken speed is one lone wavelength, smeared thin across all of space with no address anywhere. And a wave with an address is a heap of wavelengths piled up together, which is a heap of different speeds folded in. Sharpen the where, and the how fast flies straight to fog. Sharpen the how fast, and the where dissolves in your hand, and the two blurs multiplied come down onto a floor set by that same tiny grain from the first night, and there they stop. Not our tools being clumsy, what a particle is even allowed to be. So nothing that's boxed in can ever hold still, not even at absolute zero, and the atom, the one that by rights should have collapsed and somehow didn't, stands propped wide open at its size by an electron that plainly, stubbornly refuses to be pinned. I came here to bury the uncertainty as a flaw in our measuring. I'm walking home with it, holding up the walls of every atom in me. I'll be at your door early, and next time, I gather, you tell me at last what it is that tells the wave how to move.